You ever notice how the people who show up with the prettiest smiles tend to be the ones plotting something ugly? Let me tell you, I learned that lesson out here where the land's older than the fences and the only HOA I ever signed up for had feathers and horns. You think I'm kidding? I wish I was. Pull up a chair, pour yourself something strong, and let me lay it out for you, because if it happened to me, it could happen to you too. I guess you could say it all started with a letter. Not just any letter either. This thing looked like it came from the Queen of England's wedding planner. Heavy envelope, gold trim, some tree stamped on the back, words like Willow Grove Hills Homeowners Association swirling in raised print. It was so fancy my daughter Sarah thought it might be an invitation to a county fair or something. She found it wedged in our gate early one morning while she was feeding the goats. Right then I had this knot in my gut. You ever read something and just know there's trouble under all those shiny words? Community cooperation, shared vision, blah blah. Sounds sweet, right? But what they were really saying was, hand over your freedom. Let us tell you what color to paint your barn. As if I'd ever trade a piece of my family's dirt for a rule book written by folks who think pasture is a paint shade at Home Depot. I read the whole thing front to back. Twice. Then I burned it in the old barrel behind my shed, right next to last year's seed catalog and a couple junk mail coupons for dog food. But they didn't take the hint. Couple days later, I'm under the hood of the generator, hands covered in grease, and here comes this woman. Hair too perfect, not a speck of dirt on her, dressed like she's heading to some charity lunch, not the kind of person you expect waiting outside a cattle gate. Clipboard in hand, smile stuck to her face like wet paint. "Mr. Hanley, is it?" she says. Syrupy sweet. I wipe my hands on my jeans, played dumb. "Depends, you lost." She laughed, but not in a way that says she's ever told a joke in her life. She starts talking about the HOA reaching out to landowners in the area. Wants to integrate community standards. It's about environmental stewardship and mutual benefit. You ever hear that kind of talk, you'd better count your spoons. I told her flat out, this is a working farm. It's not part of her little utopia, never was, never will be. That smile of hers got just a little thinner. Boundaries can be flexible, she says. We've had success assimilating. I cut her off. Lady, I don't care if you've assimilated Mars. This land's been in my family since the Spanish flu. I'm not joining anything. Her eyes, they didn't blink. Very well, she says. But community interest tends to grow. The way she said grow, it crawled up my spine like mildew. Now I figured that'd be the end of it. Just another bored busybody with too much time. But here's the thing I learned, folks like that, they don't quit. They just escalate. 2 weeks go by and there's another envelope in the mailbox, only this one's from the county. Department of Environmental Oversight. Real official. They're notifying me of an upcoming inspection, wastewater runoff, chemical storage, even the visual impact of my sheds. Yeah, you heard me, visual impact. Like my barn was giving their McMansions nightmares. I called my buddy Nate. He's a land attorney, sharp as a box cutter and twice as quick. Sent him the paperwork. He called me back laughing, but not the funny kind. They're fishing Zach. Somebody's trying to build a case, probably that HOA you mentioned. So we sent a formal reply. No permission for inspection, cited every zoning code from here to the state line, demanded proof of complaint. But I had this feeling gut deep that it wouldn't be enough. Next morning I see 2 fellas out by the Westfield. One's got a camera lens you could spot deer with at midnight, the other's got a drone. Says they're environmental consultants. No badges, no paperwork, just matching polo shirts and grins. I told them to pack it up or I'd call the sheriff. They left, but not before snapping shots of everything that didn't move fast enough. That night, I walked the fence. Everything looked fine, except for some tracks near the feedlot. Not boots, sneakers, fresh. I knew then I wasn't just being watched, I was being tested. By the end of the week, another county notice. This one actually suggested I suspend farm operations pending review. That was it, the gloves came off. I stopped waiting, started prepping, and they didn't back down either. In fact, they ramped up. Nate called me at dawn, and Nate doesn't wake up for anyone but his own mother. You're not going to like this, Zach. County got a joint complaint from the HOA, and some company nobody's ever heard of, supposed to be an ecological management firm, but all they got is a P.O. box and a website that's under construction. They're claiming your farm is damaging biodiversity, polluting the watershed, and get this, creating visual pollution. Visual pollution. As if my cows had started doing interpretive dance. Nate said, they're not harassing you, Zach. They're building a case. You better build one of your own. So I did. Trail cams on every gate. No trespassing signs in English and Spanish. Locked everything I could. Still didn't stop the phantom complaints. Noise violations. Disruptive odors. I mean, really, cows smell. Always have, always will. One lady said her asthma was triggered by manure from 1,000 yards away upwind. Didn't matter. They sent it to the county with signatures. Things got uglier. One morning I found a dead chicken stuffed in my mailbox. If you're wondering, no, I wasn't scared. I was mad. Mad enough to get serious. That week I noticed my tractor wasn't parked right. Just a few feet off. Checked underneath, brake line cut clean. Not chewed, not worn, sliced. Now the local sheriff, I wouldn't trust him to water my plants, especially not after I learned a couple deputies lived in Willow Grove Hills. One of them played pickleball with Karen. So I called Rob, my cousin. Retired Army engineer, bit of a tinfoil hat, but smarter than he looks. He brought drones, cameras. We set up surveillance night and day. Within 3 days, caught a gray pickup creeping along the canal. Lights off, 2 people walking the fence taking pictures. Plates came back to a subcontractor for the same fake ecological firm. Classic. But it wasn't just me they went after. My daughter Sarah came home from school, wouldn't look me in the eye. Kids had started calling her livestock girl. Somebody put a bag of dirt in her locker labeled contaminated. Kids can be cruel, but adults pretending to be kids, that's a whole new low. We started documenting everything. Dates, names, license plates, built a case file thicker than a phone book. At some point I stopped thinking of them as neighbors and started thinking of them as a syndicate. You know what I mean? The complaints, the sabotage, the lies, it wasn't random, it was organized. Rob upgraded the drones. I set up infrared feeds. Caught cars idling behind the chicken coop, people with binoculars, someone drilling at the wellhead, probably trying to fake a chemical leak. That's when I started sleeping with my boots on. Karen disappeared from view, but her stink was everywhere. The HOA newsletter suddenly full of warnings about unauthorized agricultural activity, quoting statutes like Bible verses, acting like I was already found guilty. Nate finally got the county to cough up the complaint records. Half the names were fake. Some signed by an LLC sharing an address with Karen's husband's construction company. Others by concerned citizens who didn't exist. It was around then Sarah came home shaking. Somebody slashed her bike tires at school, twice, left a note. Maybe Daddy should plant silence next year. That one went to state police. The local guy's useless. I reached out to Daryl, old contact from my Marshall days, now works at the Department of Interior. Gave him the rundown. He listened real quiet, then said, "Zach, did you ever have your land resurveyed after your father passed?" I hadn't. Well, there's chatter in the county. Rezoning plats being pulled, parcel numbers changed. Someone's trying to redraw your lines and they're not doing it by the book. That hit me cold. Next day I drove out, pulled regional records myself. Spent half a day in a basement archive. What I found made my skin crawl. A proposal to extend Willow Grove boundary absorbing parcel 16B, my land. Didn't even use my name. I went home, dug out my grandfather's deeds, laid them over the county maps. Saw it clear, 5 houses built on the edge of Willow Grove sitting about 30 yards onto my land. The fence line had been adjusted. Whether by accident or on purpose, it was theft. Simple as that. And the power lines ran under my hayfield. No easement, no record. They were powering their fancy kitchens with my dirt dumping runoff through my fields, no permission, no nothing. So I got to work. Brought in an out-of-town surveyor. No ties, no bias. Over 3 days, they measured every inch. Came back nearly 1 acre built over cable-buried water runoff routed right through. All illegal. All documented. And that was just the start. We sent certified letters. Demands for explanation, proof, negotiation. Silence. So we sent ultimatums. Not threats, facts. You've built on my land. You've run utilities through my property. You have until the end of the month to make it right or I go to court. They finally answered a lawyer's letter full of smoke. Claimed I misunderstood the historical boundaries. Homeowners came to my gate scared, asking what was true. I didn't raise my voice, didn't gloat. They were on the defensive now. Then the HOA sent a supplemental annexation agreement supposedly signed by my late father. Dated 12 years ago. Nate nearly spit out his coffee, laughing it was fake. Wrong signature, expired notary fonts didn't match. They figured I'd roll over. They figured wrong. That's when I brought in the big guns. Claudia Vance, federal land use investigator. She came in, boots still muddy from the airport, scanned the docs and pointed straight at the signature. Your dad's name's misspelled. Forgery plain as day. We filed a counterclaim, fraud, forgery, land theft, illegal utility use, everything. Karen went quiet. But her board tried their own move, filed a map from some engineering firm in Alabama showing my land shaded in pink as part of their HOA. Even a confirmation letter from a clerk who'd been dead 6 years. Claudia dropped the obituary in court. Dead men don't sign letters. Judge wasn't amused. Then the feds got involved for real. Subpoenas. Audits. Turns out the HOA had used my land and a few others as collateral for grant money, forged permits, backroom deals. The county engineer who signed off on the permits, his brother-in-law owned the fake remediation firm that first complained about me. Can't make it up. Meanwhile, my cousin Rob caught video of HOA workers pumping overflow water from their retention pond straight through a buried hose and into my grazing field. We took that footage to Claudia. Within days, raids went out. HOA office, Karen's house, contractor's warehouse. Sarah made a documentary about it, all drone shots, clips, town hall footage, posted it online. It exploded. People were furious. Karen went silent. But not everyone. One night, someone painted "community terrorist" in red across my barn. Sarah was scared. I was just tired. Put up floodlights so bright you could see them from space. We weren't hiding anymore. Final straw came at a county hearing. Claudia read out the list: fraud, forgery, conspiracy, collusion. The room went dead quiet. Karen didn't show. Her board did, looking like they'd seen ghosts. Nobody looked at me like the bad guy anymore. They stared at their own with shame and something close to fear. Indictments dropped that Monday. 12 federal charges. Karen the Queen Bee was booked mugshot on TV, no more perfect hair. The HOA fell apart. Emergency meetings, board members blaming each other, lawsuits everywhere. Judge granted my motion, all construction, all utility lines, everything shut down. I got the order to reclaim my land. Personally cut the power line feeding those homes. 5 houses went dark. Left a note: contact your HOA. Some folks threatened to sue. One pleaded about his kid's medical equipment. I gave him a generator, told him to bill Karen. 2 families packed up. We filed to seize and liquidate the encroaching homes. Court agreed if nobody could prove legal title, they'd be condemned, auctioned off. Sarah bought one with her own money, turned it into an animal shelter. Volunteers showed up. Local vets helped out the school, sent kids to paint fences. A piece of stolen land turned into a safe haven. The rest of Willow Grove Hills fell apart. Karen got 12 years, no parole. The contractor 10. County engineer 8. The HOA dissolved. Residents tried to rebrand, but no one wanted to touch it. Claudia's office turned our case into new law. Now HOAs across the state face real oversight, digital plats, audits, everything. My farm. It's still here. Built new cabins, started a little program for city folks to taste country life. We called it Liberty Pastures. No signs, no gates, no HOA, just a hand-painted sign: private farm, entry by invite, HOA free zone forever. Funny thing, I never fully washed the red paint off that barn door. Some scars you keep as reminders. So let me ask you, where's the line between neighborly concern and naked greed? How much power should a group of busybodies have over land that was never theirs? Have you ever been pushed too far, and what did you do about it? I'd love to hear your stories. Go on, tell me. Was I right to fight, or did I just get lucky?